I think it's time we listen to music together. So, it's been a while since I've talked about K-pop music on this channel. I've talked about the music that was nominated for the Grammys. I've talked about a lot of Western projects. I think I've even gone into my feelings about Kendrick Lamar and Drake, but I haven't really talked to you guys about K-pop. And one of the things that I did in 2024 that I really enjoyed and I want to bring back is I listened to the top 30 K-pop albums of 2023 as voted on by the people who follow the Twitter page for K-pop charts. And so I really enjoyed that project. I really liked catching up with K-pop and not talking about like news or salaciousness, but like just really getting into the music, how I feel about the music, what's going on with the music. So I'm going to do that. I actually have two projects that I want to listen to music together with you. But that's the thing. I want to listen to music with you. I usually listen to music and then I give you my thoughts, and that's the deal. Nothing more, nothing less. But this time, I kind of want it to be cooperative in that almost like a book club. I'm giving us assignments. And so, in order to keep myself on track and keep you guys on track and make this a we project, I'm setting some pretty lofty goals for myself and I'm setting some pretty lofty goals for you. And if you think that this is going to be hard for you to do, you don't have to participate. But I'm putting it out here right now. I'm going to be listening to one K-pop album every single day. And then on Saturdays, I'm going to be talking about the 7 albums I listened to over the course of the week. So I am going to start listening to an album on Sunday. So I'll be listening to Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. When I go live on Saturday, I plan to be going live around 3:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and at 3:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, I'm going to talk about the 7 albums I listened to the week prior. Now, I currently don't have the list in the description of this video as I am live streaming it, but in about an hour, I'm going to have a list of all of the albums in the description. When I put that list on there, I'm going to be counting down from 30 down to 1. I'm going to start at 30, and then I'm going to listen to an album every single day. And then on Saturday, I'm going to go ahead and have it ready for us to talk about. Now, it's not going to be this Saturday because this Saturday is literally in 2 days. I cannot listen to 7 albums in 2 days, so sorry. However, I am next Saturday, the first Saturday in no, not the first Saturday in March, the second Saturday in March, because the first Saturday in March is this coming Saturday. So that'd be the 8th. March the 8th, 3:30 Mountain Standard Time. I will be in my car and we will be talking about 7 of the albums. So I will put the list in my description. Today is February the 27th of 2025. March the 8th of 2025 is when we are going to talk about our first 7 albums. I will have the list in the description an hour after I finish this live. So if you're looking for it right now, it's not there. It will be there in an hour. But I'm inviting you to listen with me so that we all have done our homework before we get together and talk about these albums. And then I am waiting for the Jennie and the Lisa projects to come all the way through. And then we are going to do a YG or a former YG Palooza, where we are going to have a week where all we talk about are the albums of people who ain't with YG anymore. Because I think that's a valid project. GD is killing it with his solo right now. I know YG's feelings are hurt. Lisa is going to be on the fucking Oscars. Why? Because nobody wants to hear the songs from Emily Perez, but also because there's just not a lot of pop chart songs that are on the Oscars list this year for Best Original Song. And then Jennie has been putting out solo tracks left, right, and a third. Jisoo had an EP come out. Like, everybody's doing things. And so I think we need to have a gathering of the girls and talk about what everybody's been doing since they left YG. I think that's a very valid project to have. And then I'm going to do Super Nugu. Well, not Super Nugu, but I guess like major label new groups website. So, website. New groups listen session. Oh my god, I cannot talk. So, Starship debuted their new girl group. SM just debuted their new girl group. And so, I want to talk about like what are the new girls doing? Even what the new boys doing. There's probably some new guys out there that I'm not knowing about. We're going to get through our album project first. Then we're going to do the former YG listen session. Then we're going to do the new groups. And the new groups we're doing for last because that's where I'm going to need you guys to give me suggestions on which new groups will qualify for this listen. And then we'll give ourselves time to listen to the music, come back, give our thoughts. Now, just so you're aware about how I listen to things and how I talk about things, let me refresh your memory of what we did last year. So last year, I listened to the albums. I also went on Wikipedia to find out how many albums were sold. I also would pick my top 2 songs from every album I listened to. And then at the end of the whole thing, I'm going to have a Spotify list for you guys to listen to if you want to. But honestly, I'm thinking about dropping my Spotify. I pay for premium and I'm thinking about throwing that in the trash. And so I may just do a YouTube playlist for you guys because that's something that everybody can access. You can access it for free. So probably what I'll do is when this is all over, I will do a YouTube playlist of our top 2 songs from every album. And maybe for the top 5 albums, I might give them a couple of extra songs just because we love them, hopefully. But yeah, there's a few albums that are on this list I've heard before. Obviously, RM's Right Place, Wrong Person. I can never remember the name of that damn album. I always call it RWRP. No, RPWP. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anyway, I never remember the name of that fucking album. However, I've already listened to that. I've already listened to Jimin's album. There's a few other albums on the list I know I've listened to already because in 2024, at least towards the beginning and middle of 2024, I was listening to a lot of K-pop. So I know some of these albums I have heard before, no big deal. Some of these I've never heard before. And so I am going to refresh my memory a little bit about how I discussed things last year. That video is still up on my channel. But yeah, top 2 songs we heard, impressions of the album, how many albums it sold. We're going to be talking about that. And I want to also emphasize why I talk about units sold. The reason I talk about units sold is because sometimes the albums that sell the most are not the albums I enjoy the most. And I think that's worth mentioning because last year, one of the albums I enjoyed the least that I had to listen to for the 30 albums was the 17 album. Now, if you've been following my channel for forever, you know that I bought 17's debut album. I still have 17's debut album, that fucking horrible origami mess. However, after I would say maybe the second album, 17 lost me. I just really could not keep up. There's a couple of really beautiful men in that group, but outside of that, it's just not a group that I can cling to musically. And because of that, I don't really talk about them that much. But in the years since they debuted, they sell massively. Same thing with Stray Kids. Stray Kids was never a group I super followed, but you know, any group that comes out of JYP, you kind of always keep your eye on because they have some really good people in their groups. And so I've heard Stray Kids songs here and there that have been okay, but they're not really a group that I listen to. And so doing the listen to their album, it sold gangbusters. But I only found that there were a couple of songs I really connected with. And so that's one of the things to talk about because honestly, one of my favorite albums from 2023 that I listened to on last year's rundown was the Fromest 9 album, which was so good and did not sell nearly as much as it deserves. So I think it's good to talk about these things because maybe there is a group that you really enjoy your listen to. You realize they're not really selling albums like that, and maybe you'll want to support their next comeback. That's really what the name of the game is. It is support. And then after we have done our 30 albums, kind of as a bonus to ourselves, maybe we should talk about in the last episode what albums we feel should have been on that list that were not included. Now, I'm probably not the best person for it, but if you guys want to sound off in the comments, we can definitely do that. One of the things that I have to say I'm the most sad about is when I was previewing the list, I don't think I saw Minho on the list. Not that Minho's album was super great, but I thought it was okay. And there was another artist that I did see their album on the list, and I'm like, I didn't think that album was that good. I'm surprised it's this high. So yeah, we'll talk about all those things. But in the meantime, in between time, I'm just really glad that I'm in a place life-wise where I can listen to K-pop and enjoy it and not feel as anxious. So this is really a gift for me more than it is for you, for us to sit and talk about K-pop after it has been so incredibly long. And I want to start with something. Okay, what is the list based on? The list is based on the top 30 albums as voted on by the people who follow the K-pop charts Twitter feed. So I'm going to put the list in the description of this video after I get off live. So it'll be probably about an hour later. I'm going to put the list in order from 30 down to 1 so that everybody gets an opportunity to know what the list is and they can start their listening. But the first discussion video about this list is going to be Saturday, March the 8th, because that's when I'll actually be able to listen to it. I'm excited. I haven't done this in a while, and you know, I listen to a lot of music that you guys I'll never talk about. Like there's a lot of shit I listen to that just I wish you knew. One, some of the garbage I listen to, and two, hey, how's it going, Sharon my tea? There's a lot of garbage I listen to, and there's a lot of shit I listen to that's really amazing. But it doesn't always fit here. Like last year, one of the groups I came away really loving was the Marias. Last year, I got really into Claro. Those are not things I talk about here because I don't have any place where that fits. And also because I think if I'm honest, and if you are honest with me and I'm honest with you, as much as you guys allow me to ramble about random bullshit all the time, most of y'all are here because of K-pop. And so I'm not unboxing albums. I'm not showing photo cards. I'm not doing hauls. I'm not really participating in the overall culture of K-pop anymore. And so this is the least I can do is kind of say, yes, I am aware, and this is what I have found to be worth discussion so far. Also, they have an option for me to invite people to talk with me on these streams, on these lives. If any of you are brave and don't mind other people either hearing you or seeing you, let me know. And one day I'm gonna invite one of y'all to be on here. Years and years ago, I invited people to do an Instagram session with me, and I did that before. And that's exciting. It's always fun. But I think I did it maybe once or twice, and then I stopped doing it because people really weren't into it, which I understand because a lot of us are shy. I'm not shy because I'm old. Really and truly. I was a lot shyer when I was younger. I'm not shy now because I'm old. But maybe we'll bring a little bit of that back. I'd love to see it. Also, finally, before I let you guys go, this has nothing to do with K-pop. I just have to talk about this because I bothered Mason with it, so I gotta bother you guys with it because it's still heavy on my heart. Have any of you seen the movie Anora? The Oscars are coming up. The Best Picture nominees, honestly, the only movie that I really feel like I would be happy to see win is Dune 2. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's what I want. But Anora is a movie nominated for an Oscar, and it is a terrible fucking movie, and no one can convince me otherwise. And if you want to convince me otherwise, you can leave it in the comment section. But it wasn't until I left the theater 3 days later that I realized why I hate that fucking movie. Anora is a movie about a sex worker slash stripper by the name of Annie. Her real name is Anora. And she meets this guy who speaks Russian, and he invites her to be his escort and also to like travel with him to Vegas, and he spends money on her, etc., etc. Anyway, they go to Vegas, they get married, and then his Russian family is like, hell fucking no, you're going to divorce this girl and you're going to come back to Russia. And so hijinks ensue. The movie is supposed to be pro sex worker. It's supposed to be examining the hardships of that lifestyle, whatever, yada yada, the fuck. This is what it is. It's basically an incel's wet dream. So imagine, if you will, just in your mind, follow me here. Imagine you're a man who in life has had problems with drugs, have been engaged in activities with sex workers and strippers, and they've sold you what's called the girlfriend experience, which is where they pretend like they love you, they pretend like they care about you, they listen to your woes in order to get you to spend money on them, to pay for lap dances, to pay for drinks, to pay for sex. And then when you run out of money, they're no longer interested in you, right? Honora is basically that guy saying, I'm going to write a movie where I'm going to make the stripper feel the emotions that I felt because she lied to me about loving me. And so Honora gets with this guy, this Russian heir to some mob family or whatever the fuck, we don't really know, gun runner, and he marries her. And so she envisions that, oh, I'm going to be his wife and we're going to build a family and everything's going to be so lovely and wonderful. And then find out his family doesn't want her, that they view her as a hooker, nothing more than something you play with and throw away. And so she's spending the whole movie trying to beg her would-be husband to engage in a real relationship with her, to enjoy the dream with her. And he's like, you knew what it was, and dumps her off, right? And there's this other guy in the background named Igor who's like, I would never hurt you. They're treating you really bad. They owe you an apology. Here, I saved your ring for you. I think you're a nice girl. And eventually, at the end of the movie, she gives him some pussy, but she's like crying and stuff. And she really only gave him some pussy because he managed to steal back her engagement ring. I say all this to say, these incel types, they are so obsessed with like chads, alphas, betas, all the other. So the character of Vanya, who's the Russian guy that Honora marries, he's, the kind of guy that incels kind of bristle against. Guys who have a bunch of money, who do a bunch of drugs, who have access to hot women, but they're not necessarily hot themselves, and they really don't have anything else to offer to society other than access to money and drugs. And then you have Honora, who is the type of girl that these incel types think that they deserve, who only falls for that kind of guy. And in the movie, the relationship is shallow. All they do is fuck and do drugs and drink and party and throw away money. And Honora's obviously very attracted to that. And because she's very attracted to that, she's excited to marry into this. But the nice guy who lives with his grandmother and drives his grandmother's car and doesn't really have anything, she's calling him the F slur and everything else because he's a low value man to her. Again, using incel ideology here. So she doesn't give him any play, give him any attention, treat him like even a human being half the time until he rescues her engagement ring that they were going to take from her. And it's like a real huge diamond. Then all of a sudden she gives him some. And it falls into that incel ideology that most women are whores and sluts that only care about money and drugs, and they get used up. And once they get used up by these Chad type guys, then they'll give a regular guy something, but even then he's got to pay for it. That's what this movie is. And nobody seems to fucking say that or see that. I am a connoisseur of the whole movie. And I say that in a loving way. I love movies about sex workers. I love movies about strippers. That is because in a in another life, that was my spirit. In another life, that's who I would be. If God had blessed me with a body to go with this beautiful face, y'all would never see me on fucking YouTube. You'd see me on a pole. And the reason why I'm so obsessed with this life is because I think women are beautiful. I'm not sexually attracted to women, but I think women are beautiful. And because they are beautiful, there's something so alluring and sensual about seeing a woman practice the sensual arts. And so I'm obsessed with it. And I think they should be paid, and they should be paid handsomely. And women who engage in this lifestyle, because it is the law doesn't protect them, because there are so many perils of the job, walking the streets at night, meeting strangers, getting in cars with strangers, the possibility of being killed just because of your position in society, like that shit is mad scary. And so it is an interesting dichotomy to explore, to see. It is an interesting social position to examine. And a lot of women who live this life, you can't survive it if you don't know the difference between fantasy and reality. If you don't understand that these Johns will promise you the world just to get you to give them something for free that they should be paying for. And so for someone who is like Honora, who supposedly is a street smart stripper type, who's used to men throwing money at her because this is what she does for a living, it doesn't make any sense for her to ever fall for the whole I'm going to make you a good woman and I'm going to marry you and give you access to all my money. It doesn't make any sense for her to fall for that. And then all of a sudden, when her husband literally runs away and she spends most of the movie trying to find him, being like, tell them we have a real marriage, tell them we have a real relationship. No, a real down hoe would never do that. A real cunning sex worker, a real, like, experienced stripper would never fall for that fantasy. They would fall for it just enough to get their hands on a little bit more money and then allow themselves to be bought into an annulment. And that's the thing that bugs the shit out of me about this movie, is that she's not moving like real sex workers do. So if any of this movie is supposed to be pro sex workers, it should be about the kind of women who are successful in this lifestyle. Because a bitch who's not successful in this lifestyle is a dead bitch, because you have to be on your P's and Q's. You have to have your head on a swivel in order to keep somebody from making you be a body found at the dump. So that's the reason why this movie pisses me off. Because this literally is some fucking incel's dream about getting revenge on all the strippers and sex workers who broke his heart. And it pisses me off that no one is seeing that when they're watching this fucking movie. That no one is understanding that that's what the fuck is going on in this fucking movie. And so, yeah, I don't have a lot of horrible criticisms for most of the Best Picture nominees, even though this is a really whack year for Best Picture. But this movie in particular, I hate the way people talk about this movie and that they don't see what the fuck this is. Also, Sam Baker is one day going to come out with a massive sex scandal. I'm almost certain of it, because he's somebody who claims that he is shining a light on the edges of society, the marginalized groups, the people who don't get enough attention placed on their plight in life. But the way he shines a spotlight on them is an exploitative spotlight. It is a spotlight showing the most sensationalized portions of that kind of life, the most harrowing and scary and titillating parts of a marginalized life. And honestly, a lot of a marginalized life is a mundane life. You know, there's excitement, but the excitement is terrifying. And if the person who's having a viewpoint of this marginalized life is only there to be a fucking tourist in somebody else's terror, then what light are you really shining on it? Are you just providing torture tourism? And that's what Sam Baker does. And I think that's some bullshit that it hasn't been called out at all during this awards season. You know, as much time as we spend shitting on fucking Olivia Perez, I get it. I get it. But at the same time, fuck this movie, and I want my $23.70 back that I paid for me and Stevie to watch it together. I digress. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to get that shit off my chest. I just could not survive another day without talking about it. But anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate you tremendously, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you March 8th. Talk to you later. Bye.